Hello and welcome. Today, we're doing more than just looking at a map. We're actually traveling through time. We're going to go on a journey to find the very roots of human belief by exploring some of the world's oldest religions. It's one of those big questions we all think about. How long have we, as humans, been searching for meaning? Well, to figure that out, we're going to count down the 10 oldest major religions and piece together this incredible timeline of faith. So let's kick off our countdown, starting with the youngest faith on this very, very old list. And our journey begins with Islam, which was founded about 1400 years ago. At its heart is the idea of submission to the will of the one God, Allah. Now, even though it's one of the world's biggest faiths today, with a super rich history, on our specific timeline, it's actually our starting point. From here, we're going to jump way, way back. All right, continuing our trip into the past, the number 9 spot takes us another 600 years back, right to the beginning of the Common Era. And here we find Christianity. Its origins are, of course, deeply tied to the traditions of Judaism. This is a really powerful theme you're going to see again and again, how these ancient beliefs influence and shape each other as we go further back. Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. Our next group of faiths, well, they all kind of popped up in a pretty short window of time. We're talking about a super important era for philosophy and human thought. Around 2,500 years ago, some people even call it the Axial Age. So let's dive into this incredible period. Our first example from this explosion of ideas, coming in at number 8, is Confucianism. It's really more of a system of social and ethical philosophy than what we might think of as a religion today. Its intense focus on family, on morality, and on social harmony has just fundamentally shaped so much of East Asian culture for 2.5 millennia. And in that exact same creative environment in ancient China, another really powerful way of looking at the world was taking shape. And that, of course, is Taoism. So while Confucianism was focused on how to structure society, Taoism offered a totally different path. It was all about living in harmony with the Tao, that natural, flowing, and often mysterious rhythm of the universe.
This era was just on fire with new ideas, and that wave wasn't just in China. If we travel over to the Indian subcontinent, we find our 6th entry.
It's Buddhism, founded by Siddhartha Gautama. His teachings gave people a path to enlightenment, to nirvana, as a way to end suffering. It's truly amazing when you stop and think that these 3 massive belief systems were all getting started at the exact same time. Okay, let's push just a little further back, only about a century earlier, for our faith at number 5. Here we have Jainism. Also coming from the Indian subcontinent, its absolute central belief is ahimsa, which is this profound principle of nonviolence toward every single living thing. And this core idea really shapes the entire way of life for its followers. With Jainism, we've now officially passed that 2,500-year mark. And to wrap up this incredible ancient cluster of faiths, our journey is going to take us from India all the way to Japan. And here we find Shinto, the native faith of the Japanese people. The key to understanding Shinto is the reverence for kami. These are divine spirits that live in nature, in things like mountains and rivers, and also in ancestors. It's a tradition that's just woven so deeply into the fabric of Japanese culture. Okay, get ready for a pretty big jump back in time. We are now in the top 3, and the timescales we're talking about are about to get really, really vast. At number 3 is Judaism. Now we've crossed the 3,000-year line. It's one of the very first major monotheistic religions. The belief in one single God. And its traditions and sacred texts would, of course, later become a foundational pillar for both Christianity and Islam. We're down to the final 2. Taking the spot as the 2nd oldest religion on our list is an incredibly ancient faith from Persia. Zoroastrianism. Wow, this is ancient. At about 3,500 years old, this faith introduced ideas that would echo through history, like the whole cosmic battle between a good force and an evil one. It's one of the world's oldest religions that's still practiced today. And that brings us to number 1, the oldest religion we're looking at today, a faith whose origins stretch all the way back to the very dawn of recorded history. Hinduism. With roots and customs that go back at least 4,000 years, it's often called the world's oldest religion. It's less of a single, unified thing, and more like a diverse family of traditions, scriptures, and philosophies that have grown and changed over thousands of years on the Indian subcontinent. So let's just step back and put this all into perspective. This timeline really shows you the incredible scale we've been traveling. You start with Hinduism's ancient origins 4,000 years ago, then you see Judaism emerge 1,000 years later. Then, bam, you get that explosion of belief around 2,500 years ago that gave us faiths like Buddhism, followed later by Christianity, and finally, Islam. It's just such a powerful picture of our shared spiritual history. So what does this whole 4,000-year journey tell us? Well, looking at this huge timeline, you're kind of left with a pretty profound question. What does our constant, ancient search for faith say about our deepest human need to find some kind of meaning in a world that's bigger than we are? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us.